Here's a little video for those of you that are interested in how I carve. The wood here is quartered. It's not what I would call green anymore. It's been sitting like a lot of my lumber for probably at least a year or two, and I do that primarily because I have other things in life I have to get to, so I don't always have time to carve and build something right away. Nevertheless, I use a variety of chisels, from simple gouges here. I've got a bunch of gouges, but I also tend to use a lot of I guess small, very simple plain chisels. I guess that shows up a little bit on camera. Very simple, small chisels. I use these to help create the outline of the pattern because not all gouges work on this kind of a pattern. Many of these lines are pretty broad and they don't translate. There are not too many gouges that are wide enough, I guess you could say, that would work on something like this. So I tend to outline a lot of what I want, and then I go back when I can with the bigger gouges. So we'll get started here with kind of align that like so. Get that a little farther over. Kind of get that going, and then I can probably start, but I'm not going to be able to go too far on this small leaf little area here. I'm going to get inside with actually some curved ones, maybe shorter, smaller, tighter curves. Shorter, smaller, tighter. That's not too bad there. If I'm copying the original, I'm trying to be as faithful as I can to the strange looking shapes, and it's not always easy because not all of these shapes appear to be perfectly shaped like chisels. I think a lot of these vines and leaves were done with very simple chisels like this. Again, I don't know if that's coming up on camera. There we go. Very simple chisel like that. I think a lot of it was outlined with that. But in any case, when you make stuff like this, you have to be creative. It's not too bad. And I don't have a perfect one-to-one image of this. I have a slight angled photograph. I guess I could write the seller and see if they could send me a larger photo. But for now, boy, it's hard to find my chisels. There we go. Okay, just a little line. And the reason I like putting these outlines, starting the chisels here, is because it helps to prevent the wood from splitting. You don't want to chisel something and then accidentally pop up your leaf, so it's good to start the outline first. So here we go. And I have to go over my outline several times to get farther and farther down into the wood. That's too big. That's not bad. Cut across here. Start to split that out. Where are you, my friend? There we go. No, that's not it. It's over here. My accent just changed. Kind of angling like that helps to free it up significantly. The key with all of this is just patience. Not everybody has patience, but I find this kind of relaxing. When I go to lift up some of this material that should be, I twist my chisel, kind of a back and forth motion like this. Helps. And there are lots of different techniques that you can apply. This is how I do it. I don't know that there's necessarily a perfect way. Experts in this field have different ways, and over time I've developed different techniques, things I feel more comfortable with. As I've come to need glasses, some of my techniques have altered a little bit as well. But each one of these little vine sections takes me probably about 45 minutes to an hour if I'm not talking and I'm trying to get as much done as I can. But I don't like to stress myself. This is nice when it's relaxing, when it's nice and easy. Got to blow it out every so often. We've got a lot of stubborn ones over here. People ask sometimes if there's a pattern, if I have kind of like a rhythmic pattern, and quite honestly, I don't. I go back and forth between chisels. They very quickly get scattered. You have to kind of keep stock of which chisels are where. I have a couple of small ones. These guys right here are the ones I use to kind of get the stock out that's been chiseled. So in other words, these are my removal pieces, removal chisels. Kind of go in there and free up material. Sometimes they're good to carve. Sometimes they scratch it out. Sometimes they scratch out a living. And yes, every so often a piece does pop up, and you know what I do? I glue it back on there. There were period glues. I couldn't tell you for certain if that was done, but I'm pretty damn sure that these guys made mistakes and they had to find a way to glue it back. So, you glue it back. Especially these little delicate areas, they tend to come out a lot. There we go. Oh, that was satisfying. And I've only had a chisel pop up and hit me in the face once. Knock on wood. But see, with a very simple chisel like this flat chisel, you can do a tremendous amount. It's not big enough. It's not so big that it doesn't allow you some flexibility in going around corners. But it does all kinds of things. It helps me chisel things out, helps me to remove things. Although I should really be using a smaller one. There we go. There we go, nice. And so you don't worry too much about the internal stuff in here. I like to get it as homogeneous as I can in terms of its depth, but you're never going to be perfect unless you had some kind of a perfect depth gauge or something like that. There you go. And a little skew chisel like this is wonderful because it allows me to get in really tight corners. Well, this is a teensy bit dull. It also allows you to scrape things out really well. That's one of the big advantages. There we go. Oh, that was really satisfying. There we go. I keep talking about my work being satisfying like I don't have much of a life. It's true. My work, my gym, my oak, my metal. What else could a guy ask for? Love. Who needs that when you have oak and metal? Oak and iron. All right. So, a lot of that is cleared out. A little bit here. And you're always going to have little feathered pieces that haven't quite broken off. You don't worry about that too much. A lot of those will fall off as the oak dries. This has been opened up. A little bit over here. This is very delicate work. This is almost like pulling teeth. And I could use a larger chisel, but again, I prefer the smaller chisel because it's able to angle in there better. This whole area, by the way, is going to be covered with a lock. So, although I am carving it, it's kind of fruitless in the long run. See how my hand is twisting? All right. Need to get in there a little bit better, but that's the idea. So let's go and take a look at that. It's been carved out quite nicely.